والصلاة والسلام على أتمان الأكملان على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم ارزقنا جميعا حسن النية. اللهم جنبنا الرياء والعجب والكبر والفتوى بغير علم يا رب العالمين. So today inshallah we will look at something that is basically an overview of the whole course and also an overview of the whole Arabic language. Okay? We'll be looking primarily at those things. Now, I put this together partly last night and a little bit this morning to, satisfy Sufyan's curiosity a little bit. And then also, hopefully, it's not necessarily a lesson, it's not there to teach you specific skills and things like that, but only there to make you aware of it. Okay? And also to create some form of inspiration to see what exactly the language is about and what interesting parts are there of the language that inshallah through all the little lessons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, we will put it together and come out to these complete structures. Okay? Initially I said that our goal is what? Our goal is kalam. Are you with me? Our goal is kalam. Our goal is kalam, which is something that is spit off the tongue, something that is compounded, and something that is beneficial, right? And then it conforms to the laws of the grammar. With me? Okay. So comprehensiveness of the Arabic language, an overview of where we're headed inshallah, what we'll see and what the rest of the course is about. And like I said, it's still early, right? That's why it's good that these questions come up. When I say early, I mean we've only had 3 days of lessons. We wrote a test, it's the 4th day, and we still have what? More than half of the course left. Inshallah. So inshallah. Okay. So where we headed? Multiple ways of expressing Zayd in Amr. Right? In Arabic you have multiple ways which we can say the same thing. Now in English there's a very strict way of expressing this. You gotta have Zayd, and you gotta have hit, and you gotta have Amr. You gotta have the subject, then the verb, then the object. That's the English structure, it's SVO. In Arabic we could say ضرب زيد عمرا. ضرب زيد عمرا. I could say ضرب, I could say زيد, I could say Amr. I could also say عمرا زيد ضرب. Right? I could also say ضرب عمرا زيد. I could also say زيد ضرب عمرا. Okay? I could also say عمرا ضرب زيد. Or I could just say زيد عمرا ضرب. Okay? So one thing we take from here is sequence does not necessarily matter. I've got the same word in all of them and the sequence doesn't necessarily matter. Okay, so the sequence doesn't help us much. The second thing is I can look at the words. I can see daraba. No al, no tanween, it has the idea of verb. Okay, and I know the meaning is to hit. So I see that ba, ra, and ba has some idea of hitting involved. Right, then I see two proper nouns. I see Zayd and I see Amr. I see Zayd and Amr, and I see eating. So either Zayd is eating Amr or Amr is eating Zayd, and someone's doing the eating. Okay, but the order didn't help us much. So there we go, the meaning is hidden in the details. Okay, so vocab helps us to a certain extent. But inshallah over the next few days we will see how these harakat, this fatha, kasra, dhamma assists us. All the uns, right? The dhammatan on Zaydun. Remember Zaydun, Zaydan, Zaydin. Right? In this case, Zaydun, the unya indicates the doer of the verb. So in all of these cases, who's eating? Zayd. Zayd is eating. Amran, you see all the fathas? Right? Amran is being hit. It shows us who is being hit. So that's what we mean, the meaning is hidden in the details. Now, this is one example. This is one case where the fatha, the dhammas are showing us the person who's doing the eating. Okay? And the fathas are showing us the one who is being hit. Those are just two things that the fatha and the dhamma can show us. In total, there's 22 things that it can show us. Okay, but we classify these 22 things into 3 broad categories. Does that make sense? We don't need to have 100 categories or 22 categories. We can have 3 broad categories. But how do you eliminate? For example, could tell me something is the subject, right? It could also tell me that something is the doer of a verb. Are you all with me? Like I say, rajulun.
Rajul, subject.
I'm going to say al-rajul. Al-rajulu hasanun. Al-rajulu hasanun. Now when I say the or u, both of that is signs of showing me that it's either the doer or the subject. So in the normal sentence like al-rajulu hasanun, that u is showing me that the subject is rajul, the man. Say again?
Wouldn't it be rajul wa hasanu?
No, I'm saying al-rajulu. You didn't study the structure yet, but you will get there inshallah. Al-rajulu hasanun.
What about the ending though? Didn't you say the ending must be the same?
No, it's different. Remember, I am giving you a complete meaning. I'm giving you ease. When I say rajulun hasanun, I'm just saying a good man. Al-rajulu hasanu, al-rajulu al-hasanu, the good man. That's not a sentence. But yesterday we said huwa tabib. Huwa is definite and tabib is indefinite. When I have a structure that's definite plus indefinite, it gives me a sentence with the meaning of ease. Are you with me now? Don't stress, don't stress. We can get there inshallah. Tomorrow you'll see the differences. I didn't do sentences, but I just gave you a full sentence now. Okay. There it could show me the doer. In a verbal sentence like Zaydun darab, the moment I see a verb and I see that un or u, right? Fatimatu darabat Zainab, Zainabah. Are you with me? Now Zainabah is a fact showing me that Zainab is being hit and that Fatima is doing the eating. Okay. Just giving you general ideas. We're going to look at them in detail, don't stress. Okay. But remember, the previous lesson is not dealing with a sentence. The previous lesson was dealing with what? Just a part of a sentence, a phrase. And that phrase was the adjectival phrase, the phrase which is describing a noun. That must agree. But when we make sentences, some things fall away. It will agree in less things. Are you with me? And that less things give us the idea of ease. Because in Arabic there's no word of ease, but I'll get to that inshallah. So the details is hidden in the meaning is hidden in the details. Daraba qanitun Zaidan. Who's doing the eating here? Qanit. And who's eating?
Zaid is eating.
Who's being hit, sorry?
Zaid.
Zaid, because we see Zaidan. Okay? Daraba Zaidun qanitan. Now who's doing the eating here? Zaid. And then who's being hit? Qanit. Okay. Now the sciences that make up the Arabic language, just to give you a brief overview, we get a science known as morphology. This is the classical area of Arabic that deals with consonants. Now in Arabic, the entire alphabet is made up of consonants, right? Alifun, ba'un, ta'un, tha, jimun, ha'un, kha'un, dal. All of these are consonants. Now consonants have vowels which allow pronunciation, because no language is spoken with consonants. No language is spoken with consonants only. You need vowels. And in Arabic we have vowels, and these vowels are known as harakat. These vowels are known as harakat. And the literal meaning is to move, like a harakat. Right? It's a movement. So when you take a word that is static, a consonant, you add a vowel, give it some movement. Now, the science that deals with these consonants and orders and groups of 3, right? The science that deals with orders and groups of 3, that is known as morphology, ilm al-sarf. For example, I have the letters noon, sad, and ra. The noon, the sad, and the ra, that combination of letters gives me the idea of helping, right? Just the combination gives me the idea of helping or to help. When I join them and I say nasara, that tells me he helped. Okay. If I say nusira, it went from active to passive. He was being helped. Okay, so the science that deals with the order, noon, sad and ra, putting them together, and deals with their vowels like fatha, 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 or fatha, kasra, dhamma, kasra, fatha, that is known as ilm al-sarf. Are you all with me? That is known as morphology. It's how we group them together and how we vowel them in certain patterns like fatha, 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 kasra, fatha, fatha, dhamma, fatha, etc. Right? That is morphology.
So what's the morphology in English? The morphology, do you have in the English language?
Yes,
What
we do. I'm studying it at the moment in word power.
Is it? What? Give an example.
Can I give you an example? Here's an example. How words change. In the English language, words are taken from, we go to scales of words. There's an English example. It's not a very good one because the ones in the proper English will be better. How words are changed, added on, deleted. For example, you take the word com, right? Com means together. Labor means work. Are you with me? Com means together. Labor means work. Okay? And ate makes something a noun. Oh, sorry, makes something a verb. So you add ate, then it's a verb to necessitate to. Okay. So in English we have com and we have labor. Okay? And we have ate. This is taken from either Latin, French, Latin or Greek, one of the two. And com has been changed to call. Sorry. Yeah. Collaborate. It's double B.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Collaborate. Okay. And the same thing applies because there's a whole book of hundreds of etymology for English. For example, when you say amicable, amicable comes from the Latin word amicus. Right? Amicus, which means a friend. So when someone is amicable, and any words that usually have am or amic in front of it will relate to a meaning of friend. Okay, so when we say amicable, someone is amicable, he is friendly. Similarly, from ducere, ductus, we get the word to lead, duc, okay, to lead or to bring. Or for example, the Latin word finis, right? The Latin word finis. In English, we took a part of it, we took fin. And then from there we get words like finite and finish. All of these words with fin usually in it will indicate some meaning to do with the end or a boundary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the morphology of the words.
Because we don't do morphology. We don't do morphology
In English, yeah, we don't necessarily, but it's in the dictionary. The dictionary will give you the etymology, and some dictionaries will give you morphology as well, how it's changed. So like for collaborate was the prefix com plus labor to work. This means together, that means labor, that just makes it a verb. Similarly, with necessary, unnecessary, necessitate, necessarily, necessity, necess gives you the idea of needing. With me? Unnecessary, not necessary. Un is a negative, right? Airy describes it. Necessitate makes it a noun. Necessarily makes it an adverb. Necessity, etc. Makes sense? Now, I'll go back to what we were doing and the morphology. So the idea is groups of words. Groups of words or groups of letters in theory can give us certain ideas. For example, we know the word. Okay, we know the word, the combination of ka, ta, and ba. I know the word kitab. Are you with me?
Yeah, kitab.
Kitab is a book. Maktabun
Library, no?
is a desk. Right? Makatib or maktabatun is a library, and plurals is makatibu. Now the idea that we get from kaf, ta, and ba, when the idea that comes inherently from that combination in that order is the idea of writing. So you see everything that is similar to that. Kitabun, something which contains the writing. Maktabun, some place where you write. Right? Maktabatun, a place where the writing is stored. Does all of this make sense? Okay. So that is in the morphology. The words change, etc., etc. to derive new words. Then we get Arabic grammar. which is the section we're dealing with and we're mainly concerned with this week. And inshallah, I'm going to try and do some basic morphology on Friday. Here, it's concerned with the sentence structure and how to distinguish between the roles that nouns play within the sentence. Now, previously, in my example, ضَرَبَ زَيْدٌ قَانِتًا, you notice that the order didn't matter. Okay, even though we have one common order, but that's just sort of convention. But if you were to read it in a different order where the grammar is the same, it wouldn't make a difference. Does that make sense? Okay? So concerned with sentence structure now to distinguish the roles that noun play. How do you know which noun is being hit? And how do you know which noun is doing the hitting? That comes from the grammar. That comes from the an, in, un, and a, I, u at the end of a word. Don't worry too much. No details now. It's coming in the course. Okay? Then we find rhetoric. Now rhetoric is not something we'll see in at least intensive 1, 2, and 3. But 4, 5, 6 you might see some rhetoric. This is the most advanced area of Arabic study in which you can make impactful speech. Okay? The manner in which you develop some eloquence for the language. And rhetoric is well studied once we've seen all of the morphology and all of the grammar. Now, to give you a nice example of a word, istan saru. Everybody say istan saru.
Istan saru.
It looks like one word, right? But it actually is a full sentence. It's a full sentence. It's telling us they, third person male, plural, sought help. Everybody with me? They sought help. Let's break it down. Istan saru. Firstly, I gave you the noon, sad, and ra. Nasara. Or noon, sad, ra is the combination of letters that has the idea of helping. So here, where do we get this idea of helping? From the noon, the sad, and the ra. From nasara. Right? There's the initial help. There's the idea of helping. Everybody with me? There's the idea of helping. Now, remember our sentence said, they sought help. They were looking for help. Where does this idea of looking or seeking come from? That comes from the seen and the ta. These are just rules and patterns that you pick up through the language, which we will study inshallah in more detail. This one specifically in intensive 2. But the idea here, seen and ta, is the idea of seeking. Now you've already seen Ghafur. Ghafur is someone who forgives. Ghafara means he forgave. Ghufira is he was forgiven. Right? And then if I want to make a word like this, I could use istalgh.
Seeking forgiveness.
Here's my ghafara, here's my sin and my ta. Right? Istalgh. That's the idea that they, male plural, sought forgiveness. Does that make sense?
Wow.
The root letters of ta, ayn, and mim. You know the word ta'am? It's food, right? Istalta'amu. They were looking for food. They sought food. They asked for food. Istalta'amu. Right? Istalfaru. Right? They sought forgiveness. Istansaru. They sought help. So you see the little ideas of ha, ghayn, fa, and ra, and nun, sad, and ra, and then we added on sin and ta, which gave us the notion of seeking. Okay, now these are combinations. Here's a hint that you can take down, is that present tense verbs must start with one of 4 letters. Present tense verbs start with atayna. Present tense verbs start with atayna. For example, if it's present tense, it will have a, right? This is a mnemonic. Atayna. There's a. So a present tense verb is like aqra'u. Are you all with me? Which means I am reading. Aqra'u. Right?
Present tense will start with a.
It will start with a, or ta, or ya, or nun. This is the mnemonic.
Oh, okay.
Right? I'm saying alif, ta, ya, or nun. So, the present tense verb can be aqra'u, it could be yaqra'u, right? It could be تقرأ. Or it could be نقرأ. Do you all see what I'm talking about? نقرأ. Okay. So the fact that I don't see this atayna, I don't see a, I don't see ta, ya, or na. If it was astansiru, okay, or yastansiruna, right, then it would be present tense. So it must be a, ta, na, or ya. You see that? Yastansiruna, astansiru, astansiru, nastansiru. Make sense with me? The fact that I don't see that, I can tell you now that this verb is past tense. And how do we know it's a verb? We know we didn't see al and we didn't see tanween. And we didn't see short 2 and 3 letter particles, so it must be a verb because we only have 3 types. Process of elimination here. Istansalu. So this fatha here and this gives us the idea of past tense. So there we had 3 things now. It had something to do with help. Something was looking for help because of the sin and the ta. And then here we see this and we see the fatha. We get the idea of past tense. So looking for help, somebody was looking for help, but we didn't answer who yet, we didn't answer what, etc.
So you said أقرأ and يقرأ تقرأ نقرأ, all present tense, all
present tense.
I'm reading.
This is I am reading, this is he is reading, this is you are reading, this is we are reading.
Okay,
and this is also she is reading.
Okay.
And how do you tell whether that taqra is she or you? Context. Hiya taqra. She is reading. Anta taqra. You are reading. Does that suffice?
But how does the ta make it a feminine?
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
The idea here is just to show you
okay.
what lies in store, etc. Okay? Okay, now we're going to extract more information.
Wow.
This form, istansaru. Istansaru. This gives you the active voice. This gives you the active voice. I'm not going to go into the details of what the passive voice is about. I'm just showing you everything we can extract. And this is once you've learned all the rules. Once we've put them together. Now, istansaru is showing us that they sought help. Not help was sought from them, they were doing the seeking. Right? They weren't being sought from. Ustunsiru. When I put u and tu, and if I change this to u and this to tu, and I change this to kasra, then it becomes help was sought from them. So do you see all the stuff we can take out? That's number 4. How many more things can you get?
So on the tense was that was the e and the sa on the was that the tense?
The tense was the fact that atayna wasn't here. It wasn't a, ya, or ta, or na, and this fatha was here.
So not the fatha on the I mean not the kasra on the alif, but that does not tell us tense as well.
No, because it's hamza to wasl.
Okay.
Which means we don't even see this kasra.
Oh, okay.
We just know how to pronounce it based on.
Okay.
Based on we're starting with it, and then there's some grammar that tells us you use kasra there. Okay. The alif in this particular case now for the active voice, it had nothing to do in the previous slide. You could say the kasra, yes. The fact that the kasra is there and it's not a fatha means it can't be present tense. But together, the fact that this is not kasra, I mean not fatha, right? Not a or ya or ta or na, and the fact that this is fatha, together they give you the voice of the past tense. With me, okay? Don't stress. Don't worry. It's not a lesson. This is just to show you where we're going, what lies in store. Not particularly all of these details, but the rest of the slides, inshallah, is still to come in this course. Now I told you active voice. When I have u and tu and si, ustunsiru, right? Help was sought from them. So the fact that I got a kasra and a fatha, that gives me the idea of active voice, that they are doing the seeking. Make sense? Now, here we're going to get some stuff from this wow. This wow is going to tell us males. Right? It's going to tell us males. This wow is also going to tell us that it's plural. 1, it's male. 2, it's males. So it's plural. And it's going to tell us third person. It's going to tell us that they. It's going to tell us that we're talking about them. Okay. Interesting?
Fascinating.
Right. So there's 7 things we took from the one word.
I mean, you had to make that into English. It would be a very long sentence.
Yeah, they sought help.
Well, but you had to specify that they were males. Or if you had said them males were looking for help or something.
True. So there is the comprehensiveness of Arabic at the word level. We saw one thing in which we can extract 7 different stuff. Okay, we extracted that they were males. We extracted that it's third person. We didn't need they or he or she, right? We extracted that they were plural. In this case, even more specific, it's plural, meaning more than 2. So they weren't 2.
Yeah.
So there's all these hidden traits in the words. Okay,
Wow.
that's a basic idea of what's to come. Once you put all the rules together, inshallah, you get to see this. Now, conjugating verbs in the Arabic language, recall the wow in our analytical example. It reflected the gender, the number, and the person. Here's a table, and you can do this to any vowels, any verbs. There we have kaf, ta, and ba. Kataba is he wrote. Kataba is they, 2 people wrote. Right? And you can figure out this third person, all built into the words. I didn't have time to put up circles. Where's my stick? Pointer. Anyway. Anybody see it? Yes, yes. Here at the end, all of these are suffixes. That ba shows dual. That katabu is third person, masculine, plural. You see it from the u. And that's the same u that you saw here. Do you see the u, waw and alif? Right, with me? Then if you look here, you see the waw alif. Third person, masculine, plural. Makes sense? Then other things we get, katabat, katabata, katabna. This at, katabat, shows third person, female. Then you add katabata, you know the a is dual in the verb forms. Katabna, and you could do this for nasara. You could say nasara, nasara, nasaru, nasarat, nasarata, nasarna, nasarta, nasartuma, nasartum, nasarti, nasartuma, nasartunna, nasartu, nasarna. This is the idea with verbs. Okay? So what's to come, inshallah. And all of those, encoded in that is telling you exactly the number, singular. It's telling you it's masculine. It's also telling you that it's third person. And just by the structure in general, it's telling you that it's past tense. Okay? With me? Because there's no an, ya, na, or ta. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, this is morphology. This is what we're doing to the verb. This is what we're doing to that set of 3 letters to give us different meanings. Sarf is a science of classical Arabic that focuses on the patterns and endings. By patterns, we mean the patterns of the vowels. A, I, U, 32. Right? How that is used. Like we've seen here, U, 2, and Si. Ustun, Siru gives us another meaning. Now, it gives us the tense. There we could see when it's happening. It gives us the voice. We could see who's doing it. Is it the second person, third person, or first person? First person is I. Third person is the one I'm skinnering about. And second person is the one I'm addressing, the one that's receiving my action. Okay? And the voice and the added connotations. Added connotations, that's the things like number. Okay? The first book on Sarf was written by Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. And he's also the first for many things. I mean, he's the first that has wrote the comprehensive treatise in terms of Aqidah, in terms of how to refute, and so forth. So the first book of Sarf was written by Imam Abu Hanifa. Also Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah, he was studying as-Sarf, the science, in detail when he was doing Sahih Muslim. And Sarf is important in the morphological sense, right? There's something I want to mention, but it will come. It will come on the next slide. Okay, so that's conjugating verbs. So that's morphology. Then there's Arabic grammar. Now, Arabic grammar, this tells us how to arrange the words, or at least how to arrange the case endings of words in order to make meaning in a sentence. Here's a word, Rajulun Hasanun. This is a good man. The fact that we have the Rajul first and we have Hasan after, okay, the fact that we have the endings agreeing, the fact that we have the agreement, all the stuff that we taught in terms of gend yesterday, okay, gender, endings, number, and definiteness, tells us that the meaning here is a description. The meaning is a sifa, right? It's called sifa and mawsuf. Here's the sifa, the description, and here's the Mawsoof, that which is being described. Similarly, I can relate two nouns. If I say Kitabu Zaidi, I put this first, I put Zaid second, and I use that ending. The meaning that's going to come from it is possession. Does that make sense? So this is the grammar. This is Nahwu. This is what we're dealing with in our very first week and most of next week. And we're not going to see much of sarf and morphology in this course, but we'll get some basics. Okay? Enough to identify that roots. Enough to get an idea of what the meaning is. Enough to know that qara'a and qaf, ra and hamza have to do with reading. Or noon, sad and ra have to do with helping. Or dad, ra and ba have to do with eating or striking. Right? Kitabu Zaidi. This gives us an arrangement that gives us meaningful sentences or parts of sentences. Now, we've already seen a map of the language. Something that's split of the tongue is called laf. What's it called?
Laf.
Laf. I didn't have time to write down the English. Okay. Then we get muhmal. Now you can say something, you can split stuff of the tongue, and it could be meaningless. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Or you could say something that is meaningful. Now don't confuse this with beneficial, because I could say boy or cat. Cat and boy both have meanings, but it's not beneficial because you're still waiting for me to talk on. Okay? Then something that is meaningful, you could say something that is just one word, and we've already seen this. Now this is a whole map so that we can see where we're going. Kalima. Kalima, for example, what does kalima mean? A word. And you can say one of three types of, before we go there. You can either say one word, or you could say
compound.
Compound. You could say a series of words. You could say the boy is coming, or you could say the boy. It's still a compound. It's still a compound. Okay? What can you do here? Kalima, ismun, fi'lun, and harf. We've already seen that. Then you know there are multiple types of ismun. And there's multiple types of fi'lun. Because there's three tenses. Only one thing that's an action really. And you can have something happening now, something that has happened, or something that will happen. But in Arabic, the will happen and has and is happening is in the same category. Okay, we use the same word, and then from the context and certain particles, we can judge whether it's future tense or present tense. Okay. Now, or you could have amr, a verb of command. Go do that. Go home. Right? Okay. Well, health, we can have amil and we can have ghayr amil. Don't worry about that right now. What this means is like particles that affect and do work, particles that don't do work. Okay, what do we mean? Is that they affect the words next to them, or they don't affect the words next to them. Okay, like and. And doesn't affect the word that's coming after it. Right? But be and li and min, all of those, they affect the words that come after it. Then we get something you can put together, which is murakkab, something that is non-beneficial, and we just stop there. Or something that is beneficial. Now, when we add up something that's split of the tongue, meaningful, it's compounded, and it's beneficial, then we call it kalam. Or we could call it jumla. Kalam or jumla. And that's really our goal. That's where we want to be. We want to make stuff that's split of the tongue, that is meaningful, that is compounded, and that is beneficial. Okay. Now, when you have sentences or kalam, you speak in sentences. And your sentences can be of two types. It can be ismiya, means a nominal sentence. There's no verb in that sentence. The boy is good. He is a good boy. That's a nominal sentence. It's a sentence that just has a noun and a description or a statement. Alright? Or you could get a sentence that is fi'aliyya, a sentence that indicates an action with a time. Now the short definition is, this is a sentence that begins with a noun and this is a sentence that begins with a verb. Okay? Any sentence that begins with a verb is fi'aliyya. Any sentence that does not begin with a verb, right, is ismiyya, even if it has a verb in it. So that's an advanced level thing, but don't stress. Idea here is we have ismiyya and we have fi'aliyya. Then, to give you a note on sentences, we get musnad ilay, which is the subject, and then we get the musnad, which is the predicate. Ooh, we have a problem here. Okay, don't worry about that problem. What I will do is I will just bring it up like that. So we have the subject and the predicate. Now, generally we've got subjects, we've got predicates, here we've got subjects, and we've got predicates. Okay? But the grammar breaks up further to give us more intense predicates. Does that make sense? Don't worry about it. We're going to get there, inshallah. This is what's to come. Okay? On the next slide, here's another example. Previously, we've seen that I can have a different or infinite number of arrangements. And these arrangements, they don't give me much. So I got to turn to things like this un and this al to figure out what relationship the nouns are playing. And this is all in the section of grammar, which is what we're dealing with in this course mainly. Nahu. Right. We need a different system to tell us what each role in the sentence is playing, and this is because the sequence is not necessarily, I add the word necessarily because some people would argue differently. Determine the grammar, and we don't have extra words to distinguish the roles between them. Extra words, I mean like he, she, it, they, he, it, those type of things. Okay? Or Zaid, hit Amr. Or extra words that in English you would put in, but we don't necessarily have in Arabic. So we've got to turn to the hidden meanings that you can see in the case endings. Now, an analogy of human emotions. Humans interact with other humans. Humans interact with other humans. And we have emotions. And depending on our interactions with other humans, right, we could either be happy, sad, angry, upset, excited, etc. Okay, depending on the interaction. Now, depending on your mood, for example, when I see Mr. Gur, mashallah, I'm very, very happy. I start smiling. The idea is, what did I do? I started smiling. Now there's three parts to this analogy. The first is, what happened? I met Mr. Gur. So that's the interaction. That's the cause. Right, then what's my mood? How do I feel? I feel happy. Right, and how do I show it? How do you see I'm happy? My smile. So three things. The one was the cause, the second was the actual emotion, right? And the third was the reflection of the emotion. How do you see it? Like we go through human emotions or emotional states, Arabic words go through grammatical states. Okay, they are not necessarily happy, sad, angry, upset, but they could take different forms. Three cases. Which are those three cases which broadly make up those 22 different purposes. All with me? Right? Okay, and here's a he, him, his type of thing as an example in the English language. Okay, so he, him, and his. All of this is referring to the same person, is it not? Let's say I'm talking about Hussein. Right? And I say, he came. Are you with me? He came. In this case, he is the subject because he's doing the coming. I saw him. In this case, he's the object because he is the object of my sight. Right? He's the one that is being seen. And then his pen is showing us possessor. The same person was used differently. Right? And he had a different function in each of these. The subject, the object, and the possessor in this case. Okay? And those are just three examples of states. And in English, we only see it in the pronouns, but in Arabic, we'll see it in multiple spheres. Right? Three states that could be used, not only subject, object, possessor, could be the manner in which something is being done, etc. Okay, inshallah, we'll see that in the course. Here's an example of house. It's a noun. Now, how do you recognize the state that in this specific one corresponds to the subject? Dhamma. Dhamma generally is the subject or the doer of a verb. Like daraba Zaydun. Right? Zayd was doing the hitting. In this case, saqata al-baytu. It's the subject of saqat. It fell down. What fell down? The house. Right? If I say dakhaltu, which means I entered, bayta is showing me what I entered. Does that make sense? Right? If I say dakhala, which means he entered or it entered, al-baytu, it means the house entered. But I don't know what the house can enter. So bayta will show me what I entered. Dakhaltu here is showing me I. Okay. And babu al-bayti, the door of the house or the house's door, that's showing me, with the kasra here is showing me possession. Do you see the hidden buzz that goes on? Okay, we're going to see all of this inshallah. Monday we will be here. Okay, the day after tomorrow you will be at the nominal sentence. The day after that you'll be at this. And then Monday you'll be at this whole thing here.
Now why then sakata, sakatu?
It's a verb. One of the rules of verbs, past tense verbs, will always end with a fatha. Nasara, saqata, fataha, abada, kataba, rahima, dakhala, kharaja. They will always end with fatha. Nusira. Yes. Dakhala. It ends with fatha. The two is added on. The two is not part of the verb. The two is an added suffix. Okay. But don't worry, we'll see that inshallah. It's coming. That's Friday's work. Okay. And yes, that's a basic overview of everything. This is the most important section in the grammar. Because if you open the books of tafsir, you will see rafa, nasb and jar, right? How it's using subjects, objects and possessors and also other things. It's those endings of fatha, dhamma and kasra that tell us whether something is being done upon, whether something is doing the doing, right? Whether something is showing the manner of how it's being done. Okay. So, no, it's actually very easy. Inshallah, we'll see. It's really easy. Right now we started, look how easily we looked at when we went to Ustad Siru.
Yeah.
Right? There's the whole map of the language where we want to be. You know, we want to be at
The Jumla.
Jumla. So right now we have tools. So far we have words. We know how to describe nouns and we know how to break up verbs. Right? And then we also know so far how to put a part of a sentence that describes another noun. Like rajulun, tawilun. Does it make sense? Right. We didn't study how to do kitab Zaidi, but we're going to do that on Friday also inshallah. So that's where we are. That's where we're going. Okay? It's not to scare you or to make it look a lot because really you saw it's not much. Right? And here we also saw things like sorrow. These are all little things in the language that we will get exposed to. Okay, inshallah. So there's a word where we extracted 7 things from, based on the grammar, okay, based on the verb conjugation, and other things that we can see in the case endings. Okay, and that just shows the comprehensiveness of the language. And those are the 3 branches of which we will deal a lot with in this course of Nahu. Right? A little bit of sarf, okay? Enough to make you understand the bulk of things and identify things like this, aqra'u, naqra'u, taqra'u, etc. And then one day, inshallah, our goal is to come to some rhetoric. And intensive 2 is a grammar, is a morphologically intense course. Okay, it's a soft, intense course. Intensive 2 deals mainly with conjugating the verbs, deriving different meanings, how the etymology works. Nusira versus Nasara, Ustunsiru versus Istansaru, etc. Okay, so that's just an insight. It wasn't meant to be a lesson. It's not the particular concepts you must take away and study and do for homework. So all of the best inshallah.
There no more lesson sheet.
What's this?
Lesson sheet, lesson 6 or something.
Did you do all this previous work?
We have lesson 5.
Please don't answer.
Did you finish off exercise 4?
I haven't done exercise, but I've done the notes though.
What?
I've done the notes.
Let's
I've
do
gone
the
over the
exercises,
notes.
Sufyan. Exercises.
So that's my homework.
Shukran. Well,